the pedal, spin the wheels. I know how to make you feel.
Hiya, welcome back to the channel. We have got the other C1. We're doing some stuff with this today, and well, guess by the title, failed its MOT, and there was nothing actually wrong with it before it went for MOT, but the MOT tester, he decided to make some holes in it. So there's one, that is there, and we have got, yes, so I've got some holes to weld up, and as I've mentioned before when I've been doing this sort of work, when I did the Beamer, I fucking hate welding rusty cars. I quite like welding things like alloy wheels and, you know, aluminium and just clean metal in general, or half decent metal in general, but thin 1mm rusty steel is not something I get an erection for. But it's going to have to be done. Also, if you notice by that bin being on its side, it's quite windy, so it's probably going to blow its shield away as well. But, like I say, it has to be done, so let's get it sorted. Right, so before I start doing anything, I need to jack the shagger up and get underneath it a little bit. I'll have to take that wheel off to do some work inside the wheel arch. And to investigate why this has happened. I mean, I know why this has happened, it's because the car's had a repair though in the past. But the jacking point would normally be under there. Now that is actually, the rust is only on the outside of the sill, so it's actually still okay to jack off. I mean, I jacked it off not that long ago and it was fine, but the jack will be in the way if I do that. So I'm going to jack it under the beam axle, like so, and now I can take the wheel off, which is exciting and thrilling to watch. Now it's really tight actually. I mean, just be careful because I'm going to use our Milwaukee impact gun, which is brilliant, but we recently had a couple of these nicked by some scroats. So I've got to be careful to put anything down now. Right, so now we can see in all its glory the gaping hole that we've got to deal with, and that, oh fucking lovely, needs cutting out and see what we're left with, what's actually good metal to weld to. And now, as anticipated, because I've got to do some work outside, it is in fact raining. Wonderful. I mean, it's been fine for about 2 weeks, and it's been dry and bright, bit cold but dry and bright. Now I've got to do some work on car, it's fucking raining. Lovely. Anyway, what I've got to do is, this isn't going to be the same sort of job as what I did on the BMW, where I butted it up, cut it out and did it around. I'm going to overlap it slightly because I can't be bothered. So I'm going to cut it out. It'll be acceptable. Well, we'll see when it's done, won't we, if it's acceptable or not. As I just demonstrated, I mean, I'm going to need two hands really, but I'm going to cut around the circumference of this nice hole there, and something like this. See now, it needs a little bit more angle grinder. Yes. Anyway, let's clean that up a bit and then see if we've got some metal to weld to. And after attacking it with a grinding disc, we are left with that. Not the best round here, but I think it'll take a weld. But before I cut any steel out for that, let's do some prep work on that monstrosity. First, let's check this out. and just remove any of these bungs as well before starting to cut the shitter. This is the nylon for the little mud flap shitter to screw into. I don't know if that'll come out actually. I might have to rethink our approach on that one. This sill now, I don't want to go any higher than what I have to go because it's going to be visible. So my bodywork skills, as demonstrated in the past, are not to a standard where you'd be happy with them on any car actually. So I'm going to put a bit of paint on this afterwards or whatever, or, you know, try and make it look something like, but I'm going to try and keep the repair to below where the sill starts curving downwards to make it less obvious, which means cutting out and seeing whether it's good metal. So like I said, I'm going to try and keep it so it's like around here, as long as there's some metal there to weld to, and I'm hoping to bring it into there. And when it comes to the bottom, this bottom bit, I'm just going to slit it as it curves up. So I'm not going to take the spot welds out on there or anything like that. I'm not going to do anything that fancy because it's fucking raining, if nothing else, and I'm on the floor outside. But I'm going to cut that, slit that, and then just pull that piece out and see how it is. I'll just try and show a bit of this because I might have to do, I'm going to have to do this off camera really, but I'm going to run the grinder like this to slit through there until about there, and then obviously there, and then round, which I'm going to struggle to film really, but let's try and do it anyway. And as you can see so far, I'm actually making the vehicle worse. Right, we're getting there. Also just mentioned, you might worth sort of drawing around it before you start cutting it, but I'm not going to do that because I'm an idiot. Right, so I'm sort of getting somewhere. This now, what you've got to be careful for as well, I forgot to mention, is when you're cutting the slitting disc on it, you don't want to push the slitting disc in too far because there's the inner sill, you don't really want to cut through that. This here, well, as you can see, it's still attached, just to cause awkwardness, and this is going to do the same as well. Yes, I need to go back with the grinder and cut the bits off that, don't I? Yes. Right, let's point this out now. The reason why this has rusted, and as I said, the car has had a repair in the past, which has not helped the situation. As you can see here, there is a thin skin of body filler covering up the repair, and if you look at this panel here where it's actually started to go, it looks like it's been welded in at some point many years ago. But now I've got an area what I need to weld, so I'm going to grind this off so it's down to some sort of weldable metal and all the way around it, and then I'll start cutting some sheets and shit. So I've ground it around where I'm going to weld. There are some bits that I would say are questionable, but I'll just crank the welder up and burn through until it sticks to something. You know, like here, if you put your finger, well, obviously you can't do this, you haven't got the luxury of it, but if I put my finger up behind here, I can feel where the panel is joined together. There's an overlapped panel there, which is what you can see where it's originally gone. And there's a nice, oh no, fucking 6 inches thick of filler there. When I've done this, I do feel that when I've welded this panel in, it is going to look pretty shit, and I'm going to have to do some bodywork on it and use my magic bodywork skills to repair it afterwards. But that'll be for another video. For this one, it's just going to be welding it up to get it through the MOT. So I've got that to weld, and I've got that to weld. So it looks like it's time. Yes. It looks like it's time to cut some plates. Right, and unlike last time where I did a butt joint, I'm going to do a bit of a overlap because it's easier, to be honest with you. I need to take this out because I'm going to need that. I'm possibly going to need it. No, I'm not going to need it. It won't come out. So I want to have a border around this of about 5 mil or so. So I'm going to draw around it with my pen and then cut the shitter out, see how it fits, and then adapt it as required multiple times until it fits. As you can clearly see, there's a perfectly scribed out engineering level panel there, which I need to cut out with my grind. Yes. Now time to see if it fits. Now it's a bit curved, this, as it goes around the bottom of the sill, so until I tack it into place, I won't know for sure, but oh no, I've done it in the wrong fucking place. There we go. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. I need to go and get the welder, don't I? But before any welding commences, it's a good idea to disconnect your BH2 res. Right, so I've got a welder, I've got some metal, and I've disconnected the batteries. So I'm going to try and tack it into place. And what I haven't got, what I will need, is a fucking hammer. But in the meantime, let's just try and tack it where it needs to be, which is somewhere around there. It's not very strong. I've just put a couple of really small tacks on it for the meantime to make sure it's in the right place. So what I'm going to do now is, it looks like it will line up not too bad. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to weld along this bottom edge, so it's got some sort of, I mean, it's going to be rough, don't get me wrong, that is going to look absolutely awful. And then I'm going to do it bit by bit up this bit to join on this side and this side, and then bend it round. I might have to slit a little bit off here because it might be too long to go over here, but I'll find out when I get to that. That won't be too bad. But at the meantime, I'll have to do this off camera because, well, I can't really film welding, but I'm going to weld around down this edge really neatly. And once you get into making a bit of a start of a weld, well, say a weld, your fucking wire runs out. Right, we have got some new welding wire, so now I'm going to do a bit more welding to stick that plate to that, and I'll start bending it into shape and it'll be a work of art. And as you can clearly see now, there is what can only be described as a weld and on the bottom, and it can't really describe as a weld, it's a bit of bird shit, but it is connected. The vehicle isn't fully on fire, so I'd say that is reasonably successful. Do need to be careful because there is stuff that can go on fire in the vicinity, so I need to keep an eye out for that. And I should really have a fire extinguisher, which I haven't got yet, which I'll go and get now. Now we have Health and Safety Executive approved fire extinguisher, but don't want to use it unless you really have to, because you don't want to put in you don't want to put in water on a weld that's just been done unless you really have to, unless the car's actually on fire. I try and avoid using it. Anyway, now I need to get this bit and join it to there and there, and just do it bit by bit, tack it and then knock it round a bit, and just do it bit by bit until it takes the shape roughly of the sill. Well, it won't take the shape of the sill until it joins to the other metal. Something like that. So we've welded a little bit where it's lined up, and then now obviously, as you can see now, the sill is like that shape and the plate is like that shape, so I need to do it bit by bit really. I mean, I should have bent this before I put it into the car to do a proper job, but that's not what I'm about, is it? I'm not about doing that today, because it's fucking crap. Right, I now can weld it a little bit further round and just keep on doing that until it is stitched all the way across, which I'm not going to be able to film everything because I can't. So I'm going to get it so it's tapped in all the corners, and then I'll go from there. And we're getting something like, but it's a bit of a mess actually, but what you might find is as you're going round is that it's under a bit of tension, so you've got to keep on doing bit by bit, you know, just using the hammer in the way a hammer is designed to be used, with a handle like that, and pushing it and then tacking it and moving to the next bit, and then when it's warm, tap it with an hammer, and it's a bit fucking knuckle draggerish really. You're melting a bit of metal and hitting it with an hammer, and struggling on your back and crying. So let's get a bit further. Yes. So well, as you can see now, it's tacked all the way around professionally and lovingly. So now I've just got to run a weld all the way around it. Like I said, there's a couple of bits that are going to be questionable. Might have to do a bit of building with welder, but hopefully I should be able to make it so that it is structurally sound. So I'm going to do that and then we'll come back once I've done it. Like so, and as you can see now, these welds are just absolutely just beautiful welds. Luckily, got a grinder. This is going to be like one of the most important tools when doing this. So I'm just going to take the tops off the welds. On the last video I did with the BMW, I'd had to grind the welds completely flush. That's because I didn't overlap the panels. If I grind the welds completely flush on this, they'll end up cracking because the welds are sort of, well, the panels are overlapped rather than butt jointed. But I'm gonna do something to tidy it up in a future video. But for now, I'm gonna take the tops off it, and it's just not all the welds, like so. Like I said, I'm gonna finish this off. For now, though, I mean, I'm not gonna put this back on yet because I need to paint it first, and I'm not gonna do the bodywork on it yet. Apart from I'm gonna give it a coat of Dinitrol so it doesn't rust immediately as fast. But for the most of it, this panel is done. I mean, it should have a couple of holes with grommets in them, but I can't be bothered with that. So like I said, this panel, the sill, structurally as such, is done. So let's make it on to the next shitter. It's like that big by that big. So it's 7 inches by 90 millimeters, which is about that big. Yes. So I need to tap the 4 corners of that into place and then hit it until it lines up and then weld it. Which is, to be honest with you, the same process as what I've done there. Weld it a bit, hit it with an hammer, weld it a bit more. Quite monotonous. So I'm just going to do that, and then when I've finished that, unless there's something interesting that happens midway, like the car catches fire or something, and the next time that you'll see, this will be welded all the way around with beautiful beads of weld dripping off it. Right, so we're getting there. I've just got to run a weld down there, but I've just stopped just to make sure that it's not on fire. It seems to be getting a bit warm and a bit of smoke, but it seems to cool down now, so the fire must have gone out. Let's carry on and just drop a bead. Drop it. Yes. So now I'm actually finished with the welder. This one, I'm not even going to grind off. With where it is, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to put a bit of Dinitrol on it and I'm just going to underseal that one. So I can actually finish that one in this video, potentially. The other one, like I said, professional bodywork skills incoming. But yeah, let's tidy all this shit out the way and at least seal it. And this is the corrosion prevention shit primer that I'm going to use. And I used this when I did the BMW, and I did a test on it. Then I painted, I don't know what's happened to it, but I painted a bit of scrap that I cut out the sill on the beam, like that on the beamer. And I did like one half of it with this stuff and one half of it with lacquer, and the lacquer was rusting within a week or so. I left it outside in rain. The Dinitrol wasn't, so it does do something. So I'm going to give it a bit of a, I mean, nothing's magic, you know, there is a good chance that the rust will come back at some point in the immediate future. But if at least I put some of this on it, then it might slow it down a bit. Should have really used some primer, to be honest with you, but I was too stupid to do that. Same with the inside of here. Ideally, well, to be honest with you, I'm going to try and get some on the inside. That would be preferable to get some on the back, because it's bare metal on the inside of there and water does end up coming from the back, you know, the rust ends up coming from the back. But for now, at least it's got something on it. Whilst that is drying, as I'm going to connect the battery back up, and most importantly, set the clock. Oh, you shitter. I think that is correct. Right, so now the Dinitrol has reacted with the rust and shit that was there, or any oxidation, and gone black. That one I'm going to leave alone. But this one here, I'm just going to put some of this shit on. Just some under seal. Just the more the merrier. Yes. Brand new. Alright, so that one's finished. I say I probably should get something behind it, but I'll do that at a later date when I can be bothered. Like drilling all and fill it with wax oil or some shit. But for now, that'll do. This one is gonna be possibly the focus of a future video. But for now, wheel back on, everything away, and I'm fucking it off. I'm done. So that is all for this one. Don't forget to comment and all that lot. Tell me how bad my welding is on there. And like and subscribe, usual shit. And I'll see you next time.